It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Mandy the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Schick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
Les Webster.
Hello.
And Liz Newman.
Hello everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Yep.
Doing well.
Awesome. Hope everybody out there is doing alright. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, funny you should mention Galaxy, because I have pretty much stopped all of my other stuff, mainly because I don't have anywhere near enough time to do all of my other stuff anyway, and I have been watching some of the old Doctor Who episodes on Twitch, because they've been streaming episodes basically starting at the beginning. They have just recently started getting into the Third Doctor, and I have to say, it has been what for me is a rare walk down nostalgia lane, and I think I'm figuring out why at this point, because as much I think. When I was very heavily into Doctor Who back like in high school and college, which would be late 80s, early 90s, I was more into the idea of Doctor Who and that whole universe, the whole world building concept, than I was the actual episodes of the shows. Because, man, some of them are terrible.
Yes.
I kind of feel bad saying it at this point, but even the third Doctor, who is definitely one of my favorites, oh man, some of the stuff's hard to watch. I can't really tolerate more than about a half hour at a time, which is a damn shame because they're streaming them live. They're just running them, so it's not like you can pause it and come back later. But I mean, I'm kind of getting my fill 20 or 30 minutes at a go. Again, I still kind of love the concept, and get how I feel about time travel and all, but there's not. I don't know. It's just I would almost like to say that I remember them being better than they are, but I don't know. Thinking back, I'm not sure I even thought that at the time. I just thought it was cool and was watching it because it was cool.
Yeah.
Not because it was great. It's like this really great world with all these cool ideas and characters and alien races and all that, and they've just basically set a kind of a third-rate soap opera in it.
I understand, because I've been watching them too, and yeah, some of them are not the greatest stories.
No.
And it's funny because you talk about the Third Doctor, and that he's one of my favorites too, and he was the first one I ever watched when I first saw some of them ages ago. And going back and watching the streams on Twitch, not a big fan of Joe. Somehow I remember her different when I was younger, and I don't know why, but now she's kind of
she's likable enough.
Yeah.
But she's kind of whiny and not very useful. I mean, at least Liz was helpful. Because the one from last night that I was watching was a Liz one, and Liz is at least helpful. She's at least competent. Joe was more of a catalyst, whereas Liz was an actual useful assistant.
Yeah, we Liz's usually are.
Absolutely. Grade A sidekick, let me tell you.
Right. Never the hero, just the sidekick.
Uh-huh.
I got into Doctor Who when my art teacher came dressed up as him with K9 to like one of our dances or something. It wasn't even a dress-up kind of dance. So, but I was like, what is that?
Okay, that's kind of interesting.
Yep. He was crazy. I mean, definitely perfect art teacher, you know. One
I
of
couldn't
those
tell.
But I think, wasn't it like PBS that used to play those late at night?
Yep.
Yeah, it was every Saturday night.
Channel 13. Yep. Saturday night at midnight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I started watching those then.
For years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, every so often they'll still do it.
Well, and I kind of got out of it for a while, and then my son is like major Doctor Who fan, and it's like I try to watch him now, and it's kind of like, I can't. I've tried, but I can't.
Yeah. I've watched one or two episodes since the reboot, or since they restarted it, which has been, 15 years now, or something like that. And yeah, the deal is it's not really any better now than it was then.
See, I'm kind of with you. I think I remember it greater than it was. You know, now that I see it again, it's kind of like, huh.
Well, and my deal is
What
I'm
was
the
I
guy,
smoking?
right? Well, and I'm the weirdo that I get into the lore of it. I get into the backstory and the stuff behind the scenes way more than I could take or leave TV for the most part. I'm usually looking to check out the stuff around the story. I don't care. I mean, story. I burned out on TV storylines a long time ago. And I think that backstory thing was kind of what I fell in love with back in the day. And I don't really have to actually watch the show to enjoy that. So
Right.
that, and I don't have time for that kind of thing. But like I said, I am getting glimpses of things that I remember that I thought were cool at the time. And that's kind of enough. I'm good with that. I don't need to watch every episode all the way through.
You've relived it.
I'm good. I mean, I'll keep doing it while it's going on. It'll still be going on for several weeks, I think. But I'll keep watching. I'll keep popping over there from time to time. But I don't need to watch all of them.
Yeah, especially if they're doing all the doctors.
I think the notification I got said it was either 7 or 9 weeks.
Okay.
And I think this might be like week 3.
Okay, so
Doctor a week.
Oh, they do 3 stories a day. So
yeah, and then they the way they were structured when they did them back then, what they were doing is they were doing a story and then they were chopping it up into 30-minute blocks.
Right.
And so they're basically doing, like for example, one of the one, I don't remember if it was last night or the night before, was a Third Doctor one, and I happened to catch the opening credits on one of those, and it said episode 7. So clearly that was a long story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're kind of breaking it up into chunks a little bit. And so kind of how long each of those stories is kind of, because I remember one day it was only 2, and I think it was because one or both of them were really long ones.
Right.
So they're getting about, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 hours of content out of it per day.
Because they'll do it twice.
Yeah.
They do it like at 11 and then again, say 4 or 5. Now this is West Coast time.
Oh, yeah, they're doing them. I think sometimes they're doing them again at like 9.
Yeah. Well, it's going to depend on
10.
how long. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to
Pacific
depend on
time. Yeah.
Right. Depends on how long the stories are, but I mean, some of the ones that I've caught have been like that.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm turning it on is usually like 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, our
Right.
time, Central Time, and they're still on. So, yeah. But anyway, like I said, it is an interesting exercise in reminding me how cool the Doctor Who universe is and how terrible some of the episodes of the show are. But,
Right.
which is, like I said, fun in a way.
And if you're interested in watching this on Twitch, the channel is Twitch Presents 2. So definitely go over there and check it out if that's something you want to do.
Yep.
Cool.
I like that. I think I'd like to sit down and watch those.
Go for it.
Yeah,
I don't think you need an account even to
No.
watch stuff on Twitch.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Twitch.tv. And if you just search for Doctor Who, it'll pop up.
That's true too.
That's cool.
Okay, Liz.
Well, I haven't really done a lot this week. I have been catching up on I guess it's the one-shots to the Prelude to the Wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And those have been pretty good. I really enjoyed the Ghul one and Damian. It's kind of a sweet side to him that we don't see very often.
Right.
You know? So that one was really good. But no, I hate to say it, but with all the events of the week, I've kind of been, I don't know, it's a weird feeling, you know. You don't want to read the news all the time, but at the same time, you can't stop. You know, it's just, It's been crazy. So, not a lot from me.
Okay.
That sounds like enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't judge. That's what we're here for.
Well, thank you for not doing it harshly.
Yet.
Yeah.
Still early.
I hear that bus running.
Got it fired up and ready to go here.
Yeah.
Speaking of bus, hey Les.
Wow. I may be as big as the bus, but come on. I attended a movie, not a marathon, but it was 10 movies.
That's not a marathon?
No, each was maximum of 10 minutes each.
Oh.
Okay.
It was a little...
Torture?
It was a shorts block, and what they did was they would show there are 12 films, and then you voted as to which was the best film, and the second prize was what film made you think, what movie was out there enough. What they were doing was, first prize was an opportunity to make your 10-minute film into a feature-length movie.
Cool.
Second prize was $500 or something. And a friend of mine asked me to go because he has a former coworker that entered a film, which was pretty damn snappy. I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Cool.
There were a couple of duds. They had 3 judges that sounded not the same, but they repeated just about every cliche that you could think.
So it sounds like Dancing with the Stars judges.
Yes, yeah. You were expecting one of them to throw a shoe or something, but they had one judge who was the head of the production company, the man that was offering you a spot for a feature-length film. One of the films was about a prehistoric woman who had lost her mate. And it was a very short film. But they got to the end and they had each of the judges make comments. This guy made me cringe. He said that something to the effect that he didn't think that this was the outfits that cave people wore because they are doing a film in Sweden about the Vikings, and this didn't look like a Viking outfit. And I just cringed because you're talking about somebody that was there thousands of years BC versus somebody that they're making a movie of in 1000 AD. And he just kept rambling like this, and I thought, you're the head of the company and you're not sure of what the hell's going on.
Well, that's what the underlings are for.
Obviously so.
Well, we all know that Vikings wear purple and gold, so.
Wow.
Only when they're in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Minnesota?
Okay. I am staying corrected. Go ahead.
It was very interesting though. It was 5 hours of films, and I really wish that they had started at their appointed time, but they started almost an hour late.
Dang.
And that's because this was at the Texas Theater, and of course everybody wants to socialize at the bar. And I'm just shaking my head going, let's get this underway.
Everybody had to get drunk to see the films, I guess.
I guess they did.
Especially that one guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did. They had cast and crew there for various movies, and Lord of mercy. But it was fun. Had a good time.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I get to see it next time because I think this was round 7. That'll be the 7th year, I understand it.
Interesting idea. Anyway, even if you'd rather see somebody a little more knowledgeable executing it.
I agree.
Okay. Not a whole lot for me other than catching up on reading. There is one thing I wanted to kind of bring up because the whole thing was kind of crazy. As we know, there's hundreds of networks out there, and there was one night this past week that I was not feeling well, so I got up during the middle of the night and started watching a little TV. And this one network was showing us a show that I'd never even heard of. And it's because it originally aired in 1956, if I'm not mistaken. And Les might be aware of this show, but I don't know. Sgt Preston of the Yukon. Does this ring any kind of bells to you, sir?
Oh, yes. With King.
With King.
Yeah.
King Dog? Yeah. Now, this is based on a radio program. It was a radio program before, and then it came to TV. Did you watch the show?
Yes, I did. Yeah, okay. It was on weekly, and it was a staple at our house.
Mm-hmm. So you enjoyed it?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
As a kid, anyway.
Okay. I mean, that's fine, because I was going to say I was not really impressed with the show. King was about the best thing that was going on. You know, this was an hour block, so it's 2 episodes, and I don't know how long the show lasted, but I watched one episode and about maybe 10 minutes of the second one, and I'm like, this is enough. It was a really good story, but granted, you're talking about 60 years ago, too. The writing styles have changed a little bit. Oh, but King was awesome. The thing about King is he was happy to be there. That's the thing I noticed real well. Because I almost fell on the floor laughing. Because there was a sequence at the end of the episode where Sgt Preston was fighting the bad guy. And there's King, and he starts bouncing around like, oh, that looks like fun. Can I get involved? He's just like, hey, looks like fun. Are y'all playing? I want to play too. I'm like, well, no, they're not really playing.
So this is like before they realized that, oh, we need to have somebody actually controlling the animal on the soundstage while we're shooting this thing.
The dog was kind of just running around everywhere. I mean, there may have been a handler, but not really doing his job. From
He
what
sucked if he was.
Yeah. But, hey, this was a show I never knew existed, so I give them props for actually doing that, because, it's real easy to do the die-hard traditionals, ones that are on all the time. So, but, I mean, it was, I'd like to check those things out. I remember about a year or so ago, and I think Les might remember me discussing it, a show I found on, it's one of those, and this was actually on one of those, I guess you call it satellite networks. It's kind of tied into a local affiliate. So it's like one of those .1s, .2s, .3s, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the show I'm talking about now was, like I said, about a year or so ago, was Man with a Camera. Now, very boring title, I get that. It was a Charles Bronson show. He was the star of the TV show. He was the cameraman who was out taking pictures and always getting in doing these investigations. And this was late 50s. It was not a bad show. It wasn't bad at all. But you just don't see that anymore. And it was kind of cool to come across that and go, oh, okay. So.
Right. It's like learning something.
Exactly.
Finding something you never experienced.
Yep. So.
It's like a treasure hunt. Except it's not always a treasure that you find.
It's not, well.
But sometimes it is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a risk sometimes. It could be gold. It could be a note saying better luck next time or some such.
Treasure Hunt was a game show with Johnny Carson.
Okay.
Cool.
Now that I threw that out, I'm going to get thrown out.
No, I mean, that's awesome. See, I would love this. It would be nice. Yeah, to just check it out. One of the networks is showing the old Tonight shows, the old Johnny Carson Tonight shows, and it's fun kind of going back and watching some of those, especially the monologues, and I still laugh at those from time to time, and depending on what the guest list is, it's probably going to be a pretty cool night. Be a fun night. So yeah, I'm in for the hour and a half that was on.
I've stopped and watched those a few times too.
So I'm glad that's happening. But it would be nice. It would be nice for someone to take some more risks. That just say, "Hey, here's this show. This was on at this time." I would love to see the original Dragnets from the 50s. I've seen bits and pieces, but I've never seen an episode. I've seen the late 60s version, which I know was it was a kind of a different animal. But I would definitely like to check the first version.
Yeah, more stuff from that era.
Yeah, I mean, even
as
more
opposed to the
recent.
same old shows that they always show from the 50s.
Yeah. Well, or 60s or 70s, or just something kind of switch it up, because it's always the same shows. And they get switched from network to network when the time comes, when the contract runs out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically musical chairs, and it's like nothing really changes.
Yep.
Did you know that that Dragnet was originally a movie?
I knew there was a movie. I didn't realize
I
that
didn't know it came
the
first.
show spun off the movie.
Essentially, yeah.
Now, I know there was a radio show too. So did they do the radio show to the movie to the TV show?
I'm trying to follow that. Yeah.
It was. I know there was a radio program in the 40s, because I've heard a couple of those, especially the Christmas. So it went to them deciding to do a movie, and then it did well enough that they decided to do a TV series from there.
I believe so.
That's kind of what I was getting at, and I'm sorry if I wasn't clear.
No, you were fine.
Well, or radio was dying, and so they moved it to TV from there. But
true. Well, I'm sure a lot
if
of
they did a movie in between, so much the better, But
right.
Yeah, and Highway Patrol was that way too. It was on radio before it was on television.
I did not know that either.
Nope, I didn't.
I can't say I'm surprised, but
right,
not specifically know it.
I mean, it makes sense, because you already had a following from the radio shows, and they were trying to take advantage of the new medium. It kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Before we get into this week's topic, I want to take a couple moments to thank the fine folks at Things from Another World for sponsoring the Fellowship of the Geeks. And currently, the deals they are running are their evergreen deals, but they're still pretty awesome. 40% off comics, statues, toys, and merchandise. And 30% off select pre-order manga titles. And 50% off Nick and Dent comics. Now, if you want some more information of these deals, and who knows, there may be another deal pop up after our recording. We'll have that information there. Just go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and click on our sponsors tab, and all the current deals will be right there, as well as links that you click on. That'll take you to their website, and let them know that we sent you their way, and knock yourself out and have some fun. Thank you, Things from Another World, for your sponsorship. Okay, it is that time again. It is our quarterly look at projects that are on primarily Kickstarter, but I think we've done some on other crowdsourcing websites. But it's that time again, so figure let's look at some of these projects that are catching our attention. So without further ado, who'd like to go first?
Oh, I can go first.
Okay.
My first project is a comic called Afterglow. And this one I admit I'm cutting dangerously close. Because by the time this episode drops, there will only be about 5 days left. But it's already made Ghul, so that helps. This is a 70-page graphic novel about a young woman who is in what is essentially kind of a post-apocalyptic world. And she has a friend who is a radioactive cat, which is roughly the size of a school bus, according to the images on the Kickstarter page. And their whole goal here is to prevent another apocalypse, basically. This is drawn by Kaylin Smith and is written by Pat Shand. We have talked about Pat in the past repeatedly because he writes some cool stuff. So, like I said, there will be a few days left when this drops. So go take a look at it and throw a few bucks their way because it looks like fun.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may have to check that one out myself.
Yep, neat little fantasy story there.
Woohoo! And Pat's had some success on Kickstarter, and it sounds like he's continuing that trend.
Yep.
That's very cool. Alrighty, who'd like to go next?
I've got one. This is from, let me think, trying to remember the name of the company. Anyway, Ominous Press. Ominous Press brings you the Jim Starlin Collection.
Mm-hmm.
This brings you the possibility of two hardbacks. One being called The Black Book, which is a collection of his art, and one is called Hardcore Station Mind Games, an original graphic novel. Jim Starlin was the man that brought you Thanos, Gamora, Drax, Dreadstar, the Papal. He did the Batman, the Cult. He also did Cosmic Odyssey for DC. The man is quite well known. And for some of his pledges, you can get the digitals for these two books, or you can even swing and get some hardbound, which is pretty nice. There are some extended items. You still have 29 days as of this recording to achieve this. And it's just really, really nice stuff.
Sweet. Yes, one might call Jim Starlin a legend.
One might.
One might.
I'd go out on that limb, yeah.
Yeah, I would be surprised that have that as a pick.
Yeah, I would be real surprised if somebody else didn't have that as a pick.
Not saying anything. Alrighty. Liz, do you have one?
Yes, I do. I found a creepy, cute that I like. It's called Tommy. This is volume 2. It's got 37 days left to go, so you have plenty of time. I think they just dropped this because there's no backers, no pledges, no nothing. So for $5, you can get the digital issue. But for $10, you can get the digital issues of the last one, volume 1, which will contain issues 1 through 3. So you can get caught up on everything, plus get this one for $10 digital. You can't beat that. So Tommy is a kid who has an imaginary friend who happens to be a serial killer. So,
Oh, yeah.
right.
Mm.
So this one should be pretty interesting. Kind of put me in the mind of like Norman. So another cutey serial killer kid. But it looks like on this one they're bringing a girl in, so he may have met his match.
Also
Dun,
like
dun.
Norman.
Yes.
But anyway.
True. You weren't supposed to point that out.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it looks cute. In a creepy way.
Cool.
That does sound cool.
Alrighty. For my first pick, this has, as of recording, 26 days to go. And it's called Little Heroes Comics Charity Anthology number 2. And the whole premise of this is, if it meets Ghul, you'll get the copy of the anthology. But what also happens is the money also goes to putting together materials like paper and pens and color crayons and that kind of stuff that goes to children's hospitals so they can create their own comics. And I thought that's a cool idea.
That is awesome.
Yes, it is.
Have to agree.
And this is based in where did I see it? It's in London, but still, I mean, I thought this was pretty cool. And obviously, if this being the second one means that they were successful with the first one, and I just love the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, this was one of my picks.
Aha.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. My oldest son was a heart patient. So to say that we saw the inside of hospitals everywhere would be an understatement. So when I saw this, it was kind of like, wow. I mean, if they would have had something like that for him to do, to kind of take his mind off of all the pokes and needles and everything else that he was going through, would have been amazing, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, really good idea. And wasn't it only like $30? It sends 5 copies out to kids.
I believe that's correct.
Yep. So it wasn't a bad deal at all.
No,
Not to horn in on your pick.
no, that's fine. No, that's fine. I'm glad I'm not the only one that saw this and thought that was such a great idea. So
That is cool. And then they even show you examples of the kids who have done it, and it's like, oh, just it melts your heart.
yeah. This was one of the first ones I saw. I'm like, oh, this is such a wonderful idea, and
That is.
Had to be brought up then.
mm-hmm. Alrighty, Mikey.
Okie dokie, I'm up next. Let's see if I can pick one that somebody else picked. I don't know. My second choice is entitled All We Ever Wanted, Stories of a Better World. And this is an anthology, which is full color. And the premise here is essentially kind of stories of a positive, bright future. So you're looking at some sci-fi type stories, maybe not all sci-fi, but at least some. Kind of in the vein of like Star Trek: The Next Generation and the more optimistic type futuristic stories. And that what makes this kind of fun is that it is brought to us by the same guys who did a book last year called This Nightmare Kills Fascists. So they jumped straight from a hardcore horror anthology into this bright and sunny future anthology, which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
By the time we drop, this will still have at least 2 weeks left, a little more probably. It's a little past halfway to the goal, so it's in good shape. I do not remember seeing how many pages they're planning on it having, but it says there's like at least 25 stories, and the creator list is pretty damn impressive, really. Just a few random names off of this list. Let's see, Eric Donovan, Tess Fowler, Elliot Rahal, Jenny Wood, Leela Gwen, Alex Packnadell, and I'm just sort of flipping down the list and yanking random names off of it. So there's a ton of others, a ton of talented creators working on this book. So it's definitely going to be fun. And honestly, one of the levels you can get it at, you can pick up both of those anthologies. You can pick up this anthology and the horror one for like $40. So if you're curious, check it out.
Not bad for 2 graphic novels.
Right.
Yep.
Not bad.
Cool.
I like that idea too.
Alrighty. Les, I believe you're next.
Since I stole one, I'm going to sit back and let someone else take one. And hopefully no one will steal it. Go.
That means he's passing the buck to me.
Well, you stole
Thanks,
one, but
Les.
I stole one from Liz, so I'm turnabout's fair play.
Well, I have one that's called GoodyGood. It's like a stick figure, and it starts off cute, and then just any way you can think of it twisting and like being totally messed up. That's pretty much what this comic book is. It sounds kind of lame because it's all stick figures, but like I said, just some of the sample pages they give you, it's like, oh, that's so sweet, and then like everybody dies. So
Whoa.
yeah, it's another cute, creepy, sweet. But it will have, let's see, it's got 18 days to go. And it looks like they're halfway to go on this. So, yeah.
Cool.
And for $5, you get the PDF version and the hard copy, signed by the creator for $5.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awfully fun.
Yep.
That's like almost crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Alrighty. I guess I'm next then. And for my second choice, I am going with Night of the Living Dads.
I saw that.
And the whole premise is this farmer who's having to deal with unruly teenagers. So to scare them off, he decides to create scarecrows that look like fathers. And then apparently one evening there's an incident where a bunch of fathers die in a fiery explosion, and next thing you know, their ashes or their spirits inhabit the bodies of the scarecrows. So they get up and start walking around and all that. The premise is just crazy. So, but I think it would be a little fun. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a horror comic, but
Just crazy enough to work.
yeah, it's
Probably
just,
loaded with dad jokes.
it's enough of a switch that you go, okay, yeah, I'm interested. As of recording, it has 22 days to go, and is about 25% of the way. But it's some great deals. For $15, you can get the digital version, a print comic, and then a poster that's actually which is autographed by the creators. or for $10 more, you also get a variant cover. That's not bad of a deal.
Nice.
It's not.
That is cool.
So,
Sounds
and
like fun.
I kind of like what I'm seeing here. So yeah, definitely should check that one out. Okay, Mikey.
Alrighty. My next pick is, and if my first two weren't kind of homer picks, this one's gonna really be bad. This is a book called Metro, and it's kind of the subtitle on this is a very dark urban fantasy graphic novel. This is the story of a guy who dies of a drug overdose. Yes, at the beginning of the story, in kind of the worst part of New York City. And the next day he wakes up in the morgue with kind of no idea who he really is. And so the story starts from there, and it's kind of a strange, twisted underbelly of the city type story is what I'm gathering from this. The reason this is kind of a homer pick for me is because it is written by Cullen Bunn, along with Brian Quinn, who, if you don't know who Brian Quinn is, he is True TV has a TV series called Impractical Jokers.
Yeah.
Q is one of the cast members of that. He is also on another podcast that I have listened to for a long time called Tell 'em Steve Dave. The artist on this book is Walt Flanagan, who is also on said podcast, and has drawn stuff. He's drawn Batman books. He has drawn tons of other stuff. They've actually done he's done a handful of other comics in the past. This book is scheduled at this point at 122 pages, full color graphic novel. By the time we drop, there will be 3 weeks left, and this has already doubled its goal. Probably due to the fan bases of all of these guys.
Right.
If nothing else. This one was a bit of a no-brainer, but it also sounds like an interesting story. So
It does.
yeah, I'm down.
And what was the title of it again?
Metro.
Metro.
Metro. That sounds cool.
Yeah, Walt Flanagan is one of the comic book men, isn't he?
He is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. You are correct.
We'll try not to hold that against him, but anyway.
I have read some of his stuff. His Batman book he did was awfully good.
Mm-hmm. Sure was.
Alrighty, Les, are you in this time?
I'm in on this one.
Okay.
Since no one's gone near this. This is a new graphic novel called Scout Marauder, based on the character created by Tim Truman back in the 90s. Scout was considered a hero by some. He was feared. He was considered an outlaw by the majority. In the series, he died. But as his travels went, he had his two sons with him. And 15 years later, which this book picks up, you have the two sons that have separated but come together to fight the good fight in their father's stead. Tim Truman has done some beautiful artwork with Scout, with Grimjack, I'm trying to remember what titles he's done for DC or Marvel.
Hawkworld.
Yes, thank you. So this is a standalone book, and I think it's a great idea. You've got your pledges to get PDFs, a print edition. You've got, for $20 you can get a print edition and a PDF, plus a thanks in the book. I'm looking forward to this because looking at the artwork by Tim Truman is pretty spectacular. And this is written by Tim and his son. So you get to see the two sons and how they've grown up. One is kind of almost a city boy, and one is raised in the desert. But I would say that it's going to be well worth the time.
Yeah, I kind of looked at this one. I ended up not picking it, so you're not stealing one of my picks or anything. But yeah, it looked interesting for sure.
And hopefully I didn't take anybody else's.
It was on my list.
Of course it was.
That's all right.
You guys gotta quit picking the same books all the time. Jeez.
That's why I picked more than 3.
So did I, and so far I've been entirely safe from all of this.
Mm-hmm. Well, Metro's actually on my list too, but hey, I knew you were going to pick that one.
You knew I was going to. Yeah. You had to have known that one.
Alrighty, Liz.
All right. Let's see. I have Electric Alice. I'm a big Alice in Wonderland fan. I think it was the first big book I actually ever read was Alice in Wonderland. So anything Alice, it's me. So this one is actually a different kind of tale. It's more of a sci-fi Alice in Wonderland. So a little bit different twist. I don't think I've ever read a sci-fi one where she's like in space and stuff. So they said even if you run across some of the normal characters, they won't be what you think they are. So who knows, maybe the cat will actually be nice in this one.
Well, let's not get crazy here. Geez.
All right. Well, they said it was flipped. At time of recording, it is at 68% funded with 17 more days to go. So I can see this one happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for $20, you get the book. So not bad. Like I said, definitely something different. So if you like the Alice in Wonderland kind of thing, you definitely ought to check this one out. Like I said, I don't think I've ever read a sci-fi Alice in Wonderland. I'm trying to go over all of the story. I mean, it's been told so many different ways, but I don't think I've ever had the space theme thrown on it.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Alrighty. For my next pick.
You got any left?
Yes. Surprisingly, I have one left.
Oh, cool.
I was surprised to see this, but happy because this is something I've heard of, but I've never checked out. And it's already met Ghul. With, as of recording, it's 16 days ago, so it would be roughly a little over a week by the time this drops. But it is Aztec Ace, the complete collection by Doug Minch.
Good choice.
And this is a 500-page complete collection.
Oh, yeah.
And for $49, you get a hardcover version of this. And I'm
nice.
like, that's a great deal.
Yes.
And like I said, it's already met Ghul. It's already surpassed the first stretch goal, and second one might be in reach. with the first stretch goal, there was including all 15 covers, and then a sketch, a series of one-of-a-kind Aztec Ace sketches by Bill Sienkiewicz, Jeff Lemire, Kelly Jones, Paul Pope, Michael Evan Oeming, Joe Stanton, Matt Kint, Chris Cross, Kaluta. I mean, that's a pretty freaking impressive list, and that's already guaranteed.
Dang.
That's already guaranteed. So, I've heard of this book, but I had never checked it out when it came out, and I do like Minch's writing. It's kind of a Aztec Ace, the complete collection, is a 500-page action-packed intellectual time travel comic book adventure, which stars a citizen of the original Aztec Empire named Kaza, aka Ace, traveling between the ancient world and the 23rd century. Ace, along with his pupil, Brigid Chronopoulos, and his navigator, the floating, disembodied head of Sigmund Freud, struggles to save his own dimension from the time paradoxes created by his enemy, the mysterious Nine Crocodile.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. I think I had you with the disembodied head of Freud.
You did indeed. That was a wow moment.
I don't remember who originally put this out. Was that in an Eclipse book, Les?
I believe it was.
So I'm pretty sure this stuff has never been reprinted. This is probably the first time it's been done. And
Sweet.
it, like I said, it's already met goal. So
it's a given.
So it's a given.
Sweet.
And yeah, essentially $50 for a 500-page hardcover collection that's a deal. That is a hell of a deal.
Nice.
It was a really good read back when.
Even better.
There you go. Anybody have any other picks?
Well, sure.
Okay.
Because I came prepared too. And my picks, I kind of got my Homer picks out of the way early on, the next, I actually have two more.
Okay.
I'll do the first one. I'll do one now and let other people go next. But this is by kind of an unknown. This one is called Displaced, and this is a Kickstarter for what is issue 1 of what is expected to be a 5-issue arc. And this is the story of a young woman who's a high school student, and she's got a little brother, and there are kind of some issues at home. Won't go into any detail or anything based on this description. I don't want to spoil too much. People should go check it out. But what gives the story its twist is that a mysterious woman in a robotic suit shows up and tries to get Eliza to come with her because she's in danger. This is kind of a sci-fi story, so the robotic suit is not too terribly weird, but that someone in a robotic suit says, "Come with me," and I need to save you. That's a story right there. But yeah, this is like I think it says 19-page first issue for the story, from a new writer who does not say what he's published before or if he has, but there's 2 weeks or so left on this, and it's made goal already. So, and some of the other thing that caught my eye is some of the art is really nice. There's some really pretty stuff here. So it's called Displaced, number 1.
Cool.
That is nice.
Yep, their teaser says for fans of science fiction titles like Paper Girls and Horizon. So
Ooh.
there you go.
Okay. Anybody else have another pick?
I have one more.
Alrighty.
This is Dr. Mordecai Crowley's Journal of Interplanetary Travels, Book 2. This is a hardbound for some of the lower prices. $12 will get you a wallpaper and a digital download of Volume 2. But for $50, you receive the digital of both journals of Volumes 1 and 2 and hardbound books signed by the author of books Volumes 1 and 2, plus alien destination postcards. This looks to be like a prose book with illustrations. Very nice layouts for these. And it looks like it is similar to the Hitchhiker's Guide in their presentation. You see the characters and you read the descriptions of some of the monsters found or robots that are located in this. So it looks like it's a lot of fun.
It does sound like a lot of fun.
Yep.
And that's kind of a great title, too.
Mm.
If I may, it's got 36 days to go. It's about 9,000 short on its total, so you've got plenty of time. But don't hesitate.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. Liz, did you have any others?
I only had the 4.
Oh, that's fine. Alrighty, Mikey, you want to go ahead and do your other one then?
Sure.
Sure.
And I have to admit, this one was a title that caught my eye as well. The title of this book is I Don't Want to Puke in Tijuana. A travel comic.
I saw that also.
Is that not just a great title? I swear. And what this is this is a 32-page comic, which is the author's essentially a comic retelling, a comedic, a funny retelling of kind of her. I think she's similar to mission trips to Mexico. And it's the premise here is it's kind of neurotic type comedy, which that's fun stuff. And her kind of she's kind of not sure what she's doing and that sort of thing, learning as she goes. And the art's actually pretty cool. I kind of like it. It's got a kind of it's simplistic, but it's got a nice style to it. And for $9 you can get a PDF of this. So I can only hope that this book is as funny as the title, because I mean, and she's got like 5 or 6 sample pages here, and it's interesting. So I think it looks pretty good. I think it's a checker outer, and it's already made gold too, with like 2.5 weeks left.
I like it.
Another first-time creator here too.
Awesome. Alrighty. Les, do you have any more?
No, I think that's about it for me, too.
Okay. Awesome. Some great picks. Of course, we highly recommend you go check out Kickstarter. Hopefully what we had suggested caught your interest, and go support them. If not, there's others out there. I'm sure that will, and they deserve the chance to be made. So.
Yep, and we'll link the ones we talked about in the show notes.
Yep, exactly. Alrighty, with that, we'll take a quick break and come back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks, and leading off is Les.
Thank you, sir. From Image Comics, The Hard Place is coming out as a collected trade now. This was a 5-issue series that ran. Doug Wagner was the writer. Illustrators were Charlie Kirchhoff and Nick Rummel. This is the story of a wheelman that gets out of prison. He wants to go straight, but on a visit to a bank, AJ, the main character, is recognized by 2 bank robbers, and they demand AJ to be their driver. To ensure the compliance of AJ, they kidnap a hostage. They take a hostage who happens to be the daughter of a Russian crime lord. So now he is chased by both the police and the Russian mob. Hence, they consider it a very hard place. It was a really well done series, and now you can get it as a single and just look and drool over the artwork.
I remember this series because I thought it was kind of funny that it came out around the same time. I believe it was Baby Driver, the movie.
Yeah,
I believe so.
It was a little bit after that, yeah. But yeah, it was in the same time frame.
It was same time frame. I thought, okay, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, it was a really good read.
It was
definitely
agreed.
So. Cool. Alrighty, Liz, you're next.
Alright, for my first pick, it's kind of a 2-in-1 kind of thing. Hit Girl number 5 is coming out. I've talked about this one previously before. It's starting a new arc. She's leaving Colombia and now she's going over to Canada. So if you want to jump in, you can jump in on this one. Jeff Lemire's taking over for Mark Millar. I guess he's kind of busy with his Magic Order comic. So he's taking the reins and he's going to take us through Canada. Now, if you missed the first 4, also on the same day, the trade for that is coming out. So you can pick up the trade and number 5 and be completely caught up.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I said, and if you don't want to catch up, she is in Canada, so it's a new story arc. So it's a good jumping point.
And Lemire does pretty good with these things, so, you know.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
he does.
He writes good.
He writes good.
He writes good.
He writes good.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, Mikey, you are next.
I'm next. All right. So I've got an IDW book, and this is called Delta 13. This is issue 2, and this is the story of a very small survey ship. This is kind of a sci-fi thing, and what they're doing is they're doing surveys of asteroids in the asteroid belt, and it's a little strange when they are running at speed and spot like a really big asteroid in their path that they had no idea was there. Nobody seems to know anything about it. It's completely out of place from where it should be. They've managed to stop, and then they start, that's kind of when the weirdness begins. And that's a good bit of issue 1, kind of in a nutshell. Issue 2 is coming out this week, and this is kind of a cool story, and I am really looking forward to seeing how far that weirdness goes. And given that the writer on this book is Steve Niles, it could go deep, and that would be a good thing.
That is cool.
Delta 13.
Okay. Sounds pretty cool. I had not checked out the first issue. I need to. For my first choice, because I am next, I am going with New Challengers number 2. This is from DC Comics. This is part of their New Age of Heroes line. And I was really impressed with the first issue. The thing is it took the lore of the classic Challengers of the Unknown and tweaked it a little bit, but still kind of honored what came before, which I thought was really handled real well. And so now we're learning about the new team, because they already lost a member and getting that person replaced. So this is only like a 6-issue series, so it's going to be just a very short run. But I've enjoyed the heck out of it, and this is Scott Snyder and Aaron Gillespie. And Klaus Jansen's doing the art on this one. Klaus Jansen as well as Andy Kubert. So it's going to look pretty. And the story's been intriguing so far.
Nice.
Very nice.
Alrighty, Les, you're up again.
For my second choice, IDW comes out with an adaptation of Lawrence Block's book, 8 Million Ways to Die. This is written by John K. Snyder III, and I believe he also does the art in this one. Block's character, Matthew Scudder, has appeared in several books, and I'm kind of looking forward to this because Block's style is awfully deep, and he has a character who is a troubled, an ex-cop that it becomes a detective in the 1980s. So when this was written, yes, it was a current timepiece. But looking back now, this should be good fun because just the fact that Block has such a great storytelling style and makes you want to know what the characters are going to do. So it's a plus.
Cool.
Yep, should be exciting.
Alrighty, Liz, you're up next.
Alright, for my second pick, it's from Titan. It's Tank Girl All-Stars number 1. She's turning 30. So they are bringing Alan Martin back and a bunch of other artists. It sounds like they're going to have new artists, old artists, people who have worked on the comic in the past come back and tell some of the stories. And we will finally know how she got her take. They're going to reveal the big secret to us. So this is Tank Girl out of Titans All-Stars number 1.
Cool.
I don't know if the world is ready to know that story.
Probably not.
It only took them 30 years to get there.
Right. Maybe now the story will move a little quicker.
Ooh.
Wow.
I don't know. Tank Girl seems to move pretty quick as far as I can tell.
Yeah. They said this will be the story to end all stories of origins, so it should be a pretty good little tale.
They're selling it, so I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like Tank Girl.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Okie dokie. My second book is an Image book, and it is called Flavor. This is issue 2, and I really liked issue 1. This is the story of a young woman named Shu, whose parents own a restaurant in a kind of a fantasy era city that apparently takes their restauranting very seriously, because you have to be licensed by the city in order to be a cook, a chef. And the problem here is that Shu's parents are kind of, I guess, ill is the best way to put it, not able to keep the restaurant running by themselves, and so Shu is trying to kind of do it for them, but she had to drop out of the chef academy to do that, so she's not legally allowed to run the restaurant. And so enter her father's brother, who has traveled from far away and is here to help. Of course, he shows up with a massive sword strapped to his back, so I'm sure we'll hear something about that at some point. And there's a lot of stuff going on in this interesting fantasy type city. So this is a very, very cool story already, and so I'm looking forward to seeing where we go.
Nice.
Yep.
It's a fun one.
That's so cool.
Alrighty, I am up next, and for my second pick, I am going with Archie Super Teens versus Crusaders. This is the first of, I believe it's either 2 or 3 issue little miniseries. Basically, the Archie gang have superpowers. I know they've showed them off and on over the years, but they're having to. Of course, it's one of those that you got to battle the heroes before you join forces to battle the bad guys, and this time they're dealing with the mighty Crusaders. This should be pretty fun.
Cool.
Archie stuff tends to be
It does.
nice, light fun.
Yep. Unless you do like Jughead the Hunger, then it's not so much light or.
Well, yeah, the horror stuff is a different animal, and I think some of what makes that interesting is the contrast.
Yes.
Yeah, like I have been enjoying Vampironica quite a bit, just mainly just because of that contrast, the whole darkness versus whatever they usually are sort of thing.
Right.
It's been fun.
Agreed.
Here, here.
Alrighty, and our honorable mention this week is...
Our honorable mention this week is a Dark Horse book. And this week we are getting Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 12, The Reckoning, number 1. This is, of course, the gang coming back. Apparently they have been things have been kind of slow for the last year or so. But that's going to change, obviously, because, man, there wouldn't be much of a story if it didn't. This, according to the notes I have, marks what might prove to be 2 very interesting twists here. The first, of course, is that Joss Whedon is back. He is directly involved in this story. And the second is that they are very much hinting that this might be the end. This might be the end of the Buffyverse in terms of comics. Is that true? I don't know, but that's the hint that they're letting slip here with this book. So it might be worth checking out, even if it's just for that, and also it might be a cool story as well too. So
Yep.
there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm ready for Josh Whedon to return for this.
Alrighty. Any special mentions or shout-outs this week?
I actually want to throw a quick thank you, if
Okay.
y'all don't mind.
Go right ahead.
And this is actually related to one of our usual shout-outs, which we'll get to. It's kind of related to the Podern Family one. I want to throw a quick shout-out to the Poop Culture podcast and their Poop Culture Extended Universe. They are kind of an informal network of podcasts. We're not necessarily directly a part of that, but they have kind of taken a lead kind of among the Podern Family group. And the guys there, Mark and Rick, have set up, I think it was mostly Mark. I could be wrong. It could have been Rick. I'm not sure. But they kind of set up a Twitter group, which they invited a bunch of us into. And so this group has been going on for, almost a year now. And there's probably, 50 or so podcast folks in it. And they have been, as strange as this may be to say, possibly more so than the Podern Family hashtag, this group has been just amazing at promoting each other and being supportive of each other, and kind of, like I said, kind of as a subset of the Podern Family thing. So they're very much related. It's a lot of the same people. But I want to at least give a quick shout out to the Poop Culture guys for kind of sticking that out there and gathering a group of people together and kind of spearheading that promoting each other thing, even more so than normal. And it's been really great. Thanks, guys.
That is awesome.
Cool.
Very nice.
Yes, it is. All right. Any others?
Nothing here.
No.
Alrighty. Well, then we'll get to our regular shout-outs, and might as well go ahead and start off this week with Podern Family, since we just brought them up for spreading the word of the fellowship around on Twitter. Definitely go check them out. You just go to Twitter and do a search, hashtag Podern Family, as one word, and a lot of great shows out there. Just don't take our word for it. Just find something that kind of appeals to you and click on that link and download the episode, and I'm sure you'll find something really good. So thank you guys for your support. I want to also thank Manny the Martyr for supplying us with the music for our podcast. We'll have a link in the show notes for you to check out their music. Thank y'all very, very much. Then obviously you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode, and we appreciate your support as always. We value your feedback. If you have a comment, question, suggestion, observation, complaint, whatever, please contact us. There are several ways you can do that. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net is our email address. Or you can go to our website and click on the About Us tab, and there's a contact form that you can fill out. And I do want to take a moment, because apparently there had been an issue with the form, and I don't know what the deal was, because I found out something was going on, but we have started getting those again. I don't know if we missed some in the past, but it seems to be working now. So definitely hit us that way if you don't want to just shoot us an email. You can contact us through social media or just follow us. We're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks, and obviously we're on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. And you can follow us on our personal Twitter accounts if you'd like. Mike is at Mikey Geek. Liz is Newman_L. And I'm at Tom TC Geek. And wherever you download and listen to our shows, whether it's through iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or Spotify, it would be greatly appreciated if you would rate us and review us. That would be awesome. Any final thoughts before we say goodnight?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you listening.
Go get them Kickstarters.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, everyone. We appreciate your support as always. And until next time, read more comics and support your local stores.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,